Hello friends, this is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcast. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that, it'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to the award-winning Basketball History 101 part of the Sports History Network. I am your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast where we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old school basketball to a new school audience. And today we bring you the story of when Isiah Thomas went off. And I'm sure that you are thinking, well, which time? He has had a lot of great games over his career. Nobody gets to the Hall of Fame by accident. Some consider him the second best pure point guard of all time behind Magic Johnson. And I am not sure exactly where I would place him because I have to throw in Bob Cousy and Oscar Robertson into that discussion. But in any case, Isiah Thomas is a 12-time All-Star, a 2-time champion, a 5-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Star Game MVP, an assist champion, a Finals MVP, and he was an easy pick for the NBA's 75 list. So when I say that Isiah Thomas went off, I am specifically speaking of Game 6 of the 1988 NBA Finals. The game took place on June 19th, 1988. I was still a kid at the time, and I watched intently to see the Lakers take a step toward another title. So let me paint the scene for you. During the 1980s, the Detroit Pistons were slowly getting better each and every year. They were contenders to win the Eastern Conference. Unfortunately for them, the Boston Celtics with Larry Bird were standing in their way. But in 1988, they finally defeated the Celtics and punched their ticket to the NBA Finals for the first time in over 30 years. The previous time that the Pistons played in the NBA Finals was in 1956, when they were still located in Indiana and went by the name Fort Wayne Pistons. The fans in Detroit had never seen their team play for the championship. This was something very special. The Pistons were an unusual team in that they played 9 players as part of their regular rotation. Most teams back then rarely went past 7 players in trying to win a championship. Starters were expected to play over 40 minutes per game the closer they got to the trophy. The Pistons had so many weapons, they could go big, small, fast, defensive, offensive. Coach Chuck Daly could play his guys in so many combinations to counter whatever the other team was throwing at them. The Pistons were led by their captain and vocal leader, Isiah Thomas. The other starters were Joe Dumars, Adrian Dantley, Rick Mahorn, and the guy that I love to hate, Bill Laimbeer. Coming off the bench were Vinnie Johnson, John Sally, James Edwards, and a very young Dennis Rodman. By the way, I have to pause here to talk about one of my favorite NBA nicknames of all time. Vinnie Johnson was called the Microwave, and they called him that because he could heat up almost instantly. In the finals, they would match up with the Los Angeles Lakers, yes, my favorite team as I grew up in Southern California. The Lakers were captained by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but the vocal leader was Magic Johnson. The other starters were Byron Scott, A.C. Green, and James Worthy. And coming off the bench were Kurt Rambis, Michael Cooper, and Michael Thompson, the father of Klay Thompson. The Lakers were the defending champions and were looking to be the first team to go back-to-back since the Boston Celtics did it in 1968 and 1969. Yeah, it had been almost 20 years since any team had won 2 championships in a row. The theory at the time was that repeating as champions could not be done anymore because once you win, every other team in the league is coming after you and throwing everything they have at you. In other words, as the champion, you were every other team's big game on their schedule. You got everybody's best effort for 82 straight games plus playoffs. The thinking was that it was just too hard to win with a target on your back. The series was a bit back and forth. The Pistons struck first by winning the opening game at the Fabulous Forum in Inglewood, California, where the Lakers played prior to the Staples Center. The Lakers then held serve in Game 2 and evened the series at 1 game apiece. But things were only going to get more challenging for the Lakers as the next 3 games were going to be in Detroit, where the Pistons played in the Silver Dome, a football stadium. The Lakers won the first game in Detroit for a 2-1 lead in the series, but the Pistons won games 4 and 5 to pull within just one game of a championship. They would get 2 chances to close out the Lakers, but it would not be easy as the final 2 games were to be played back in California. And that brings us to Game 6 of the series. The Pistons were primed to win the first championship in team history. Despite their 2 previous trips to the finals in the 1950s, they were still looking for their first championship. There was also a buzz in the air. Whenever a team has secured 3 victories in the NBA Finals, the NBA brings the trophy to the next game, just in case. Also, the commissioner of the NBA is on hand to present that trophy, and workers build a platform for the trophy ceremony, and the champagne is put on ice. Boxes are delivered to the arena with t-shirts and hats to give to the players in case they win it all. Basically, a lot is going on in the arena when one team pulls within one game of winning the whole thing. The players notice it, and it adds a sense of excitement to the game. This is a good place to take a break, and I'll be right back with the game, and in particular, Isiah Thomas's performance.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row 1, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row 1 gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row 1 shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row 1 catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row 1 Pictorium Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.
Welcome back, and let us get on with the story of Game 6 of the 1988 NBA Finals. The Detroit Pistons were up 3-2 over the LA Lakers and were ready to end the series and fly home with the first trophy in team history. The game gets started at a good pace. Isiah Thomas scored the first basket of the game on a layup in the first minute. As the first quarter got started, it was a role reversal in terms of strategy. The Pistons were fast breaking on the Lakers and then getting back quickly, forcing the Lakers into their half-court sets. It was like the two teams decided it was opposite day and played the other team's style. The Pistons were up 15-10 when Thomas hit the next 7 points for the Pistons, a layup, a 3-pointer, followed by a mid-range jumper. Thomas had 9 points at the end of the first quarter, and the Pistons were leading 26-20. The Lakers woke up in that second quarter and started running every chance they could get. Lakers coach Pat Riley brought Michael Thompson in for an aging Kareem to take advantage of Thompson's quickness. The Lakers were able to outscore the Pistons 33-20 for the second quarter to take a 53-46 lead going into halftime. Thomas only managed a single free throw in that second quarter to give him 10 points at the half. The Lakers felt that they had things going and under control. They had the fans behind them, and the stars were smiling like Jack Nicholson, Michael Douglas, and his father Kirk Douglas. In the 1980s, the Forum was the place to be seen if you were Hollywood royalty. Now, let us get back to the game. Being down 7 points at the half, the Pistons decided to adjust how they were going to attack. Chuck Daly wanted Thomas to attack offensively and look for his own shot. He figured that the Lakers would not be ready for Thomas to become the primary scorer. And Chuck Daly was right. Thomas came out on fire. He hit a series of layups and mid-range jumpers. The Lakers could do nothing about it. He had scored 14 points in the third quarter alone when everything seemed to stop for the Pistons. Thomas came dribbling down court on a fast break. He dumped the ball off to his right to Joe Dumars, who made the layup to get the score within 4 at 70-66 in the Lakers' favor. But what could only be seen in slow motion replay was that Isiah Thomas inadvertently stepped on Michael Cooper's foot and severely twisted his ankle. Nobody knew what happened in the moment. The Lakers inbounded the ball quickly and took off down court. They saw that Isiah was on the floor, and the Lakers wanted to take advantage of the 5-on-4 situation. And they did take advantage. Michael Thompson got a quick point-blank layup to put the Lakers up 72-66. Coach Chuck Daly screamed for a timeout, which they took right after Thompson's basket. The Pistons trainer Mike Abdenauer quickly rushed to Isiah Thomas even before the timeout was taken. They helped Thomas get to the bench and checked on his ankle. If this had been a regular season game, Thomas would have probably been out for a week or two. But Isiah Thomas was only 16 minutes away from his first championship. He once said in an interview that as he was sitting on the bench, he started thinking about his mother, the rest of his family, all of the coaches that helped him along the way. He thought about his teammates and felt that he owed it to the team to at least try to get back on the court. After being out of the game for only 1 minute of game time, Thomas checked back into the game. He got the ball after another Lakers basket and realized that he could not push off on a bad ankle. Driving to the basket and using his incredible quickness were not going to be an option that day. He could continue running the offense, but he was going to have to become a spot-up jump shooter. The real challenge would be on the defensive end. He was going to have to guard the off-guard position, which meant checking Byron Scott or Michael Cooper. That was the best he could hope for. Trying to stay with Magic was not going to work out very well, but he continued to carry the load on offense. In the last 4 minutes of the third quarter, he made 5 shots, a three-pointer, a floater, 2 jump shots, and a layup. He brought the Pistons back out in front with a score of 81-79. He finished with 25 points in just the third quarter. He scored 14 prior to the injury and 11 points in just 3.5 minutes after the injury. He finished the third quarter with 35 points total for the game. Thomas then opened the fourth quarter by hitting the first shot that brought him up to 37 points for the game. The Lakers then went on a 9-point run. The Pistons continued to battle. Thomas was not going to be able to sit at all during the fourth quarter. At that point, it would have been worse to take a break because you do not want an ankle injury to cool down and stiffen up. Isiah was going to have to keep the ankle warm by playing in order to keep it loose. If he sat down at this point, he would have been done. The rest of the fourth quarter was back and forth. The Lakers were up 95-91 when Isiah got poked in the eye. The Pistons had to call a timeout to check on Thomas's eye this time. So, in addition to the ankle, now he had trouble seeing. But he was a warrior. After the timeout, he led the Pistons on a 7-point run to take a 98-97 lead. Thomas hit a final jump shot to give himself 43 points for the game and to give the Pistons a 100-98 lead with 1:29 left on the clock. He shot a fall-away jumper over the outstretched hands of Magic Johnson, who is 8 inches taller than Isiah Thomas. Joe Dumars then made a pair of free throws to go up 102-99 with exactly 1 minute left in the game. The Pistons were only 60 seconds away from their first championship with a 3-point lead. They just needed to play good defense. Chuck Daly brought in Rodman and John Sally to give the Pistons their strongest defensive lineup. Byron Scott hit a jumper to make it 102-101 Pistons with 50 seconds left. After a Pistons timeout, they got the ball to Isiah Thomas. Despite the injured ankle, he was as hot as any player that I had ever seen. I could not believe what Isiah Thomas was accomplishing on a bad ankle. I had my hands up near my face because I was so nervous. But the taller Michael Cooper, the Defensive Player of the Year from the season before, was all over Isiah Thomas. It was like being defended by a spider. Cooper's long arms and legs were all over the place, keeping Thomas corralled. Cooper played Thomas extra tight, which would normally be a mistake because Thomas was so quick with the blow-by dribble. But the Lakers knew that Thomas could not drive. He could only shoot. Cooper did not have to worry about Isiah's crossover because the ankle was not going to let him go anywhere. And that was probably what made the difference in the game. Cooper knew that Thomas's only option was to shoot a jumper, so he played him that way. If Thomas had not been injured, there is no way that Cooper plays him like that. Cooper would have taken a step back out of respect for Thomas's driving ability. Thomas missed the shot and the Lakers grabbed the rebound. They got the ball to Kareem, who had a terrible shooting night. His sky hook was just not there for him. Bill Laimbeer had played Kareem very effectively. Kareem was only 3 of 14 for the night, but in a clutch moment, you go back to Kareem. Kareem went for the sky hook and Laimbeer fouled him with the body, and Laimbeer fouled out of the game with only 14 seconds left. Like the clutch Hall of Famer that he is, Kareem calmly made both free throws for a 103-102 lead. After the Pistons' final timeout, they decided to run a play for Joe Dumars, since it was obvious from the previous possession that Thomas was unlikely to get off a clean shot. Dumars missed, Byron Scott grabbed the rebound, and Rodman fouled him. Byron Scott, normally a great shooter, he's a lifetime 83% shooter from the free throw line. He missed both free throws in the clutch. The Pistons had no timeouts left, so after Scott's missed free throw, they had to go the length of the court to get a shot up. Thomas got the rebound and Magic stepped to him with hands up that took about 2 seconds off the clock. Then Thomas finally passed the ball up court to Adrian Dantley, but the clock ran out before they could even take a shot. The Lakers got away with one. As a Lakers fan, I am willing to admit that. Isiah Thomas played 44 minutes and scored 43 points, which was his personal playoff best scoring performance. He also added 8 assists. For the Lakers, James Worthy led them with 28 points. Magic Johnson chipped in 22 and 19 assists. The Lakers came back 2 nights later and closed out the series with a 108-105 victory. Isiah Thomas only played 28 minutes in that 7th game on a really bad ankle where he only scored 10 points. He gave one of the most incredible performances, but came up short. The Lakers completed the first back-to-back titles in 19 years. The NBA Network brought in Isiah Thomas, John Sally, and James Worthy to re-watch this game and to give their comments. James Worthy said that if Thomas had not twisted his ankle, that the Pistons probably win Game 6 and the title. Even as a Lakers fan, if I am being honest, I agree with that assessment. If Isiah Thomas did not injure his ankle, the Pistons probably would have won that series. But as Game 6 ended, I changed the TV channel to something else. I could not believe what I had just seen. Isiah's performance will stick in my mind until the day I die. It was truly one of the great performances in NBA history. The mental fortitude it takes to play on an extremely painful ankle still boggles my mind. I still don't know how he did it. But the Pistons would come back to the finals the next 2 seasons, and they won it in 1989 and 1990. Isiah eventually got to hoist the trophy twice. So that is it for today. Join us next time when we share a profile of the life and career of Hall of Famer Dave DeBusschere. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of Sports Yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts, and check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find shorter historical posts as well as comments and discussion starters on today's game. I'll also announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care, and see you soon.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction, in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so it
retro
was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
placards.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, sports writer. Coming soon.